All families are different, and it's usually dependent on where they come from. My family comes from the North and the South, and so we really have a blend of those cultures. We're a large family, and we really are faith-based. We don't hold on super tightly to gender roles. That's kind of loosening up as generations progress. But we do hold on to independence, and we have addictive tendencies. So you may be wondering, where is Brianna Brown from? Well, a long time ago, some people came over from Europe and they came to New Jersey for religious freedom. And then those people moved from New Jersey to Pennsylvania for job opportunities, and from Pennsylvania finally to Kentucky. There isn't really a whole lot that we know up until Isaac LaRue. We know that he was an active man, a family friend of Daniel Boone, which was super interesting, and that his family owned a lot of land in this central Kentucky area. And so actually I ended up finding out that LaRue County and Hodgenville were both named after my family, which is really interesting because I didn't even know that we had ties to central Kentucky. And then there's always this myth about Abraham Lincoln and his birth, and so it's always said that someone from our family was there, and I ended up finding out that, in fact, a woman named Peggy LaRue was a midwife during his birth. And then John Hodgen was his friend growing up, and they're both distant relatives of mine. And then this kind of explained why we have such strong ties to Kentucky. However, our ties have really moved from central Kentucky to western Kentucky, which is now where our family who lives here is rooted. Chicago is mainly where I knew my family was from. We moved there for job opportunities, and there's a lot of missing information here. But I do know that due to industrialization, this was a place that had a high demand for laborers, and so we saw the opportunity and took advantage of it. And then there's Rusty LaRue, who played for the Bulls, obviously much later, as you see the difference in the pictures. But I thought that was pretty interesting. And more recently, I do know about Granny and Pepaw, who are my great-grandparents. It's my maternal grandmother's parents. And so they are really the foundation for our family values. They really value Christianity, family, and hard work. Pepaw used to work on the farm, and so that's something that's been passed down. We really value taking care of yourself and being independent and working hard to earn things. Also, Pepaw buried money for the mob, and so this shows you again the blend of the northern and southern culture, as he worked on a farm here, but Henderson, and by here I do mean Henderson, Henderson was also called Little Chicago because the mobs would move drugs and money through there. And there was a large nightclub scene that eventually got shut down by the people of the town, but Henderson and Chicago were tied, and so my family really was a link between those two, and did a lot of work between those two, and so that was interesting. And then that environment also fostered the addictive tendencies that we see in our family today. And then as far as gender roles, they stuck pretty tightly to them in Granny and Pepaw's generation, but like I said, we're sort of digressing from that now. Grandma and Granddad, my mom's parents, would move back and forth between Kentucky and Illinois, and so they would be pushed out by gang violence and pulled back in by job opportunity, and pushed out by gang violence and pulled in by job opportunity. And so what would pull them to Kentucky would be the small town feel, and then what would push them out of Kentucky would be the lack of opportunity, and the small network that was here as opposed to the large network that was available in Chicago. And because our family has ties to gang culture, we have family members that were in gangs, and then we have family friends that were in gangs or are in gangs, and we really got, I think, a better understanding for the gang culture, which carried some resentment as well as some hurt. And so I think that's really impacted me as a social worker, because I grew up seeing it through the lens of knowing the people as opposed to only knowing the acts of it. And so again, this environment probably helped in fostering the addiction in our family. They eventually decided to settle in Kentucky, by the way, which was a great choice, because I honestly don't think that raising children inside the city is the safest option. Graham and Granddad being they, stick somewhat to gender roles. Graham started college but didn't finish because she said she could never see herself being anything other than a wife and a mother. This really took me back by surprise because she always pushes me to be something bigger, and I think that maybe her seeing missed opportunities or just her seeing new available opportunities is what motivated her to push me. My uncle, their only other son, he sticks pretty tightly to gender roles, except for the fact that he is now okay with his wife working. She's a dental hygienist, and she really didn't give him an option. So he wasn't okay with that at first, but now he is. And then my mother was a single teen mom, and so she didn't have an option. She was forced to defy gender roles. And that's what I grew up seeing, was the woman being the rock of the family and the provider. And so I think that made my perspective, made me to see that the woman should be a provider as well, whereas if I would have been raised under my uncle, I might look for a man that I could be dependent on. And so this is a slide with only family that comes from the north. This is my Uncle Ray on the right. He's Hispanic. He's awesome. He has Puerto Rican and Spanish heritage, and he's absolutely amazing. And then you have my grandma, my little cousin, and my brother. And then in the back, you'll see my aunt in the kitchen cooking while my uncle helps her out some. So, their gender roles like that. He respects her. He just also likes for her to do housework, but she enjoys it, so it's fine. And then there is tension between the northern and southern cultures. So as you'll see, we spend a lot of time with the family from the north because there's tension with racism and just different thinking with our family that comes from the south. And then as far as communication, we tend to be more blunt because up north, a straightforward and more hard sort of form of communication is acceptable, whereas in the south it's more of a passive-aggressive sort of thing. And then driving also. The driving is very different. The people from up north say no one from down south can drive, and those are the people that I learned from would be the people from up north. And so I can definitely see the clash in culture there. And so now we meet at my grandma's house on Sundays. Obviously, you see the M on the door. That was not at my grandmother's house. Neither was the one on the right, but these are both pictures of family gatherings. And both pictures are the Spanish family. And so we're pretty close with them, but we really value time spent together and just spending time together and keeping up with each other. That's something that's really important to us. And my grandfather was actually diagnosed with lung cancer, but we believe that the Lord is healing him, that the Lord has his hand on him as he goes through chemo, and it's just been something that's really brought our family closer together, and we've really gained an appreciation for each other. And so he used to have a really full beard, and he's kind of lacking now, but hey, it's all right. But yeah, so family is super, super important to us. And then birthday parties are also a big deal. If you don't throw the biggest and best party, like, people are going to throw a party right after your party that everyone's going to go to, because our family really likes to get together and have a super good time. So you'll see my brother on the chair in the back, not sure what was going on. Yeah. And all of this, just the blend of the northern and southern culture and the ties to Kentucky, but still like the ties to the city life as well, and then the strong the strong emphasis on family and just caring for each other and seeing people for who they are as opposed to what they're doing. That is something that makes up who I am. And so this project was really interesting, just to kind of look at the why behind of the what. And that's me.